Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Comedy Luxembourg's Finest Metal Podcast with your host, Jill. That's me today. And I'm super stoked to have two special guests today on this coffee break episode. I'm stoked to have Hand of Kalliach all the way, not necessarily from Edinburgh, right, flew in, but wonders of technology, as we said, right? So thanks to Sophie and John for joining in today. And we are going to talk about you guys, obviously.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
No worries, man. And we're going to talk about Hand of Kalliach and music in general. I mean, the whole spectrum of the appreciation of music, let's say. So where do we start? That's always the tricky one, right?
Sure.
So where do we start with Hand of Kalliach? Basically, it's and I know we have been in touch for quite some time now, and basically since summer in the release and how have things been since then? And obviously before that, the whole idea of let's do a band, you know?
Yeah.
the usual question, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you want to take this one?
No, you go for it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it's been pretty mad, to be honest. I think in terms of the
Busy.
Yeah, busy, and the. I mean, we've been really delighted by the reception to the music, and I think, as we said to a couple of others who've asked similar questions, we never expected it to be getting the level of traction that it's had. This was really something that we just started off doing in lockdown in the UK, where we couldn't go anywhere and couldn't do anything, and we had instruments gathering dust that we'd not played for a long time, and it was a good prompt, really, just to do something a bit more creative, just for the sake of our own sanity, I guess, more than anything else.
Yeah.
And we'd always talked around doing something like folk metally. Just, we both have like a big passion for metal to varying degrees, I guess. But we'd always talked about building on some of the sort of Scottish folk influences, but not in the sort of typical powery, sort of like overly folky melody sort of way, and do something a bit more dark and sort of heavy,
ominous,
I guess. Yeah, exactly. Ominous. Ominous is a great word for it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think we'd ever really thought it would get anywhere near the traction it's had. So it's been a mad few years recently, and then getting signed with Prosthetic. Was just totally out of this world, really, in terms of getting that sort of platform and that sort of buy-in from such a substantial label. And all the, I guess, publicity and support that comes with it. So, yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride, I guess. You got any more to add on that one?
Yeah, I think recently definitely feels like another level. It feels like we've kind of plodded along quite slowly, and then all of a sudden it just feels
kind of exploded a bit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, basically you did not see it coming, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember back in 2020 actually when Samhain dropped, and how I discovered you guys was also via lucky find over the Bandcamp site. You always get like they throw stuff at you. Oh, you might like this and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember there was this. Let's call it the time period, like 15 years ago, where there were several folk-inspired, as you mentioned before, bands like popping up here and there, and suddenly they were not necessarily gone, but became quiet. And when I stumbled upon you, I was like, oh, this is not as folky as they mention, and yet it is. So I think that makes also the difference in your sound is just like this. I'm talking like from my personal view, and obviously a lot of people that we know over here and talk about, they have this typical sound in their head when they think of, Scotland. Scotland has this typical noise wall of sound kind of thing that has to go on, otherwise it's not authentic. And like I'm not saying they're bad, but for example, Sur, what they do is in your face. Oh, that's typically Scottish. And honestly, I was a bit surprised that you guys were doing those mythologically inspired stuff, and because it didn't get through via the music itself, but more like obviously the aesthetic as well helped a lot. But it was way deeper than any other band I was coming across over the last several years. So it made you guys stand out a bit more than the rest, to be fair.
I mean, I think that's really great to hear. I think it was really what we were driving at as well, was trying to do something a little bit less in your face with some of the folky elements. So like we've like steered clear so far, at least, of doing things with like bagpipes and too much of the traditional instrumentation. And instead, a lot of the approach has been taking those sort of melodies and those sort of scales and patterns and somewhat rhythms as well, but then putting all of that on like a lead guitar. So it's still carrying that sort of folk essence, if you like, but still, but with a very much more aggressive sort of feel. And it's great that it's coming across that way in terms of, you know, it's a bit more subtle on the folk aspects, but the more that you kind of, you know, dig into it, the more it's kind of there, I guess. Like that's absolutely what we were kind of driving at, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about your record and a few episodes actually, and also a friend of ours, the Metal Inspector. I'm sure you're aware of him as well.
Yeah.
So, and he was like, I don't consider them folk at all. It's like basically this melodic death metal-ish kind of thing what they have, and then sometimes Sophie drops in with her ethereal stuff, what she's doing, and it just works, and it just creates this instant of I'll just call it innocence, a certain innocence of an unfamiliarity that you guys were going for. Maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe, but like out of your comfort zone in terms of what you wanted to do, and yet it was somehow surrounding all of these ideas, you know, folkish and stuff, which is really amazing. I mean, and tough to write as well, I guess. Especially the second one, which we are going to talk about in a second anyway, because it's always the second one that they look up to and they ask, oh, the first one was so good, what will we do next, you know? That's the harsh one.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. So,
I mean, that's cool to hear. I think, I think we've always struggled with finding the right sort of category for it, to be totally honest. I think, I think what your friend the Metal Inspector is probably saying is entirely fair. Like, some listeners might well hear it and say, well, I'm not really picking up the folk side of things. And that's absolutely fine. Like, you know, because it is supposed to be kind of backseat. I think was it the Decibel write-up? Not to be dropping names, but like, I think they said, like,
no problem.
I just feel like an asshole sitting there being like, oh yeah, the Decibel write-up. Yeah, that was fantastic. But I think they put it really well in terms of like the folk takes a very much a backseat to the whole sort of production and sound design. Yeah. But it's still there, but it's very much not the primary focus as you would get with a lot of the other folk.
Because it is not like wall of sound, like others do it, obviously, but it is nonetheless complex, you know, in terms of there's just way too much going on, and yet, as you say, it's more like cinematic. It's more like let me get the whole spectrum here, because it's there's way too much going on, and yet the folk element is not overpowering everything, which I personally like. And then obviously your vocals don't help, John, to make it more...
You'll love her help it,
So let's go like for... I mean, obviously we talked about this in the small interview we did a few years back.
Sure.
The whole inspiration, I mean, where do you gather your inspiration? Obviously Scotland is showered in mythical stuff. So where do you even start finding inspiration?
Yeah, there is just so much, and we keep finding more and more mythology and folk that we can dive into now and again. But
I mean we've got like a sort of folder on our sort of laptop just with like endless links of all the random bits of mythology that we've kind of found and that we kind of go down rabbit holes on, because a lot of this stuff we didn't even know ourselves until we started digging into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so damn huge also. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I think this is it. And but also like so quite unknown comparatively. Like if you compare it to the likes of like Norse mythology at the moment, which is obviously really prominent in pop culture at the moment. And, you know, there's a huge pantheon of like gods and various mythology bits and pieces in there that everyone kind of has some degree of knowledge with, even if it's just from like, you know, Disney films and stuff like that. But from the Scottish side of things, you've also got this huge wealth of crazy mythology, and some of it is like it's downright wacky sometimes. Some of the crazy, weird sort of stories that you'll get coming out of it, and a lot of this stuff we just didn't even know ourselves. Like we're both born and bred Scottish people, and yet at the
Loads
same
of
time,
it.
like,
It's
yeah.
brand new to us.
At least
were
you
just
have
like,
some
"What's this?"
mythology, to be fair. We do not have such a thing, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I bet it's funny, like in your sort of, you know, mid-30s, only discovering half of this stuff for like the first time, and be like, what is this Ehushka? Like this water horse that binds itself to, you know, a rider and then drowns it and then eats it, like, and it's some half demon thing, and it's just, people know about kelpies in Scotland, which are these sort of like benign sort of water horse sort of things, but all the darker stuff, of which there is tons, absolutely tons. Like there's hardly anything in Scottish pop culture in a way that's kind of about it, and so jumping into a lot of that has been a load of fun, and yeah, we just, like you were saying, just go from track to track, from album to album, just sort of digging into a lot of this stuff, and then basically being able to kind of pick and choose, like, you know, what we want to string together, I guess. Yeah.
So basically there's a lot left, like you have enough inspiration for the
plenty,
full
plenty material.
You know, you read into something and you think, oh my god, this is so metal, it's just so dark.
It is super metal, super dark, and
absolutely
crazy stuff. But again, you got mythology. We do not have anything like that, but we got what do we have? We have a quite good wine culture. I'm not sure that's helping. Nice. It's not metal though. We consume a lot of beer as well. Just to be fair, no whiskey though. That's a shame. That's a.
I mean, beer and wine can be pretty metal.
Yeah.
You know, the right quantities, the right time of day. Yeah, absolutely.
Correct. So, I mean, another thing we talked about as well, but many out there do not. What are the pros and cons for you, especially? I mean, you don't find a husband and wife band around the corner every day.
Yeah.
So there must be some pros. I'm sure John is afraid to answer. So is Sophie in a way.
Pass that one across. There we go. Yeah.
So,
I think that, well, because we started in lockdown, and I think it's been very useful because we can write quite quickly together.
Mm-hmm.
We can, you know, kind of work on songs throughout the day. We both work at home quite a lot, and we can kind of play something to each other and bounce ideas off each other. So I think writing is much quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But I say the con is, at the moment we're practicing with the rest of the band, and that's quite tricky because we've got kids, and we have to kind of swap, and finding time to do it together is quite difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
And just thinking of touring is a challenge. So all of the live stuff becomes tricky, but I'd say the rest of it is easier. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I've been in a band before, so I don't know what's easy and I don't know if it's better or worse.
No, but you're totally right. I mean, I used to play a few other bands when I was younger, and I would definitely echo all that. I think the writing process is so much faster when it's just the two of us at home, and I think because we're married as well, you don't have to worry about some of the politics and managing people's egos. Like, you know, if I write a riff and it's rubbish, Soph can just turn around and go, "Nah, it's rubbish." You know, just do it again, and it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess that was a bit rubbish, and I was just come up with something else.
I get what you mean.
So you can actually iterate fairly quickly over like a track. And one of the other cool things is that because we've got some gear at home, and we do a recording at home as well, like, because we just got, and it's not expensive as well. That's the great thing these days, because when I was doing some recording like 20 years ago, if you wanted anywhere near a studio quality sound, you would have to pay a ton of money, absolute ton of money. But these days, more and more, you can actually get some decent gear for like a few $100, and it's like actually totally viable. I mean, all our stuff, I don't want to break the magic too much, but all of our stuff is done on like a few £100 worth of equipment.
I totally get that, because I recently had a discussion while at a concert with somebody as well, and it could actually be reflected to one of the questions you guys asked for our 100th episode. You know, how do you keep up with music? Basically, there's such an overload. Everybody nowadays is a producer at home with, I wouldn't say the bare minimum, but as you said, you don't have to buy like
easy enough, right?
And you get it done, and the technology allows it to work actually. So why not make a profit out of it in a way?
Well, that's
make life easier. That's what we're after anyway.
I think that's it. And like, I mean, when I was playing in some of those other bands, we did like a couple of recordings in studios, and it's kind of terrifying in a way, because you're going in and you've kind of committed to cash, and you have to get it right there on the day, that day, or like
the timer is not stopping,
That's it. You're paying by the minute, right? So like you need to make sure it's there, and if it's not there, like you either run out of money or the quality's not going to be there. And that's a real challenge. Whereas when we're at home, because we can just do it over and over again with no real cost other than our own time, you can keep doing it until you're happy with what you've got, and you can even get to the stage where you've got like a finished track. And we've done that sometimes where we've got a track all the way through to like pretty much recorded, roughly, before we're doing like a really precise guitar take or like some really tight vocal takes or whatever. But enough to know what it's going to sound like, and then go, it's not good enough, It's not working. It's just not working, or it's not working within the context of the album. So, you can junk it. And you're not worried about like losing any, money from all the investment, because you can just junk it and start again.
That is still what it's all about in a way, right?
Well, that's it. I mean, it's expensive, right? I mean, like our engineer that we do use, because what we do is we do the recording ourselves, and then we package up all the audio files over to the engineer, and then he'll do all the reamping and retracking of everything. And he does a fantastic job for what's a very reasonable price, but still an awful lot of money for us. But it just means you get to not have to worry about sending him stuff that is not as polished or as tight as it needs to be to get a decent sounding record coming out the back of it. So I think that makes a lot of difference. But that's definitely been the advantage of being able to work together doing that. And then like you say, like the live stuff is where it really cuts with the other side of the knife, really, because that's where we're going. We don't have childcare cover to get out once a week to go to band practice. So we got childcare cover like once a month to go out on the piss. So it's like, it's a bit more of a challenge, but
that's also these are the plans for like, on recent post you mentioned that I forgot the name, is Tom and
Tom and Dehan,
that they joined as a live members. So difficult, but any updates you could give already in terms of, is there a vision for a live show? Obviously,
definitely.
We're definitely getting there.
I'm really happy with the way some of the tracks are sounding, for sure. Like, I think we're a few off like a full set list at the moment. They're up to standards, and I think one of the big challenges we've had is all the atmospherics and all the sort of samples and things we've been using, like choirs and harps, is working out a good way to sort of bring those into the mix so that it doesn't sound too hollowed out. Just doing, because it's only four of us. So we're pumping some of the atmospherics and things just through the PA system instead, and we've been trying to balance the right sort of levels and the right mix for that as well. But I think we're in a good spot with that. So, I mean, hopefully next few months, like, we'll be in a state to actually get some gigs in, and some of the local promoters have been really kind and already trying to push us to get playing and stuff like that.
I'm sure people have been asking for a while.
It's really humbling and really, really nice to hear. And then you feel guilty when you have to say no, and it's like, man, I'd love to go and play, but definitely this year is the plan, and hopefully summertime will be
nice,
sort of viable, but we'll see how it goes.
Looking forward to it. If I manage to be around, I'll definitely drop by for sure.
Awesome. Hopefully we get to Luxembourg at some point as well.
I mean, I can help you out. I know quite a few people here that run the scene, and again, that makes the example for you guys again as the special band, because we don't have any folk metal band here. So it just makes it more special,
Amazing.
More mystical and more ethereal. Let's just call it ethereal. Such a nice word. So I mean, I just wanted to go through, let's say after Samhain and the impact of Samhain that it had on you and on the scene, because I mean, before that, obviously there was no Hand of Kaliach, but how do you start from there after this reception? Like, oh, wait, this is going, as you said, better than expected. And obviously the response is even bigger than feared, let's say. So where do you start with the second record, which is usually the most, I wouldn't say difficult one, but the most challenging one, because what kind of success or appreciation you get from the crowd and stuff, and then you have this huge boulder on your shoulder, which is like basically crushing your bones in every way you can imagine, right? And then where do you start writing with that pressure?
Wow, that's such an accurate description.
Yeah, that's incredibly accurate.
I think the freedom of when we began, we had so much freedom because we didn't think anyone was going to listen to it. Yeah. So Coffeebreak was very different, and I think we did kind of take feedback of the songs that people liked and kind of the sounds that people liked, and that can't help but influence you, I think. So there was definitely a bit of that, but we did try and stick to kind of our core, the core sound.
Yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it was a very different feeling because with Samhain, exactly as you say, it was like blank slate, just do what we kind of want to do. Didn't really expect it to get much traction, and with Coffeebreak, it was a lot harder to then sort of really nail down. Okay. Are we actually making sure this is sounding as good as the last record? Are we being consistent? And I think we did some stuff on Samhain that was probably a bit more experimental. There's loads of stuff that was a bit more experimental. There was a lot more sort of variation. We brought in quite a lot of like your Push the Bulls sort of Scottish singing and stuff like that, which was just a bit wild, mixing that with some of the black metal stuff. Yeah, no, it's great. I really liked it. But I think trying to then create something that was consistent and going to be up to standard was really hard. I think with Samhain, I'm pretty much sure we pretty much wrote 10 tracks, and those were the 10 tracks that ended up being on the album. With Coffeebreak, I think we probably wrote 20 and ended up with 9. So and so there's sort of 11 other. It's not that we got to 11 full tracks completed and finished off, but like stuff, exactly, some ideas put together. It was like nope, and it was a lot more challenging, I guess, to come up with something that was going to be as in our mind as good as, and at least sounding better, but at the same time being more cohesive now that there was expectation as well. And I think the other challenge was as well is that retrospectively now we probably have made even more different sort of changes to Coffeebreak, because when we'd written it, we hadn't signed to Prosthetic at that stage. So the album had actually been like finished, produced, and it was actually Dan at Trepanation Recordings, our label, who did Samhain. It's a UK underground distro, which is sadly closing shop just now, but they've helped a fantastic number of bands at the moment in the UK, weird and wonderful underground ones like us, to get a bit more of a platform. But Dan had said, look guys, I'd happily put out your next one, but go pitch it. Like, honestly, you could probably get a bit of traction with this. And then suddenly we did. But then looking back on the production side of things, we probably would have changed some more things. But probably for the best, right? Because otherwise you just
the more you
endlessly
go through
try and perfect it, and you'll just never get it out there in the end. But it was a big change.
You said it earlier. I mean, where to meet the standard, but who decides what the standard is anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fair question.
Only both of you.
Absolutely. I think we put a lot of. I think we have a high bar for ourselves for sure.
And you can tell yourself in not thinking about what other people want the sound to be, and then you just have to kind of ignore it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes it just more difficult. No matter what you'll do, it's easier said than done. Obviously, it can be in music or in video production or anything. The more you think about the others, the less you will appreciate your final work. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean that's my opinion for whatever I do, if it's music or whatever. But I think that's the easiest and the more honest way to portray your art in any way possible.
I think you're totally right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, you can't help but take on some levels of feedback sometimes when you're, reading the reviews and what people are thinking. But the more you fixate on that, the more you will kind of drift from what you were doing in the first place. Because you'll always, even if you find some, constructive or not constructive comments, and thankfully we've hardly had any of those, but you will naturally start to think, oh well, I better make sure I don't do that the next time, or that we say. But actually, you could equally find another review that's saying the complete opposite thing and saying, I really loved this element. So it's you'll just tie yourselves in knots trying to please everyone rather than just drive on with the core idea, which is, I guess, what we did in the first place, because it was just for us. We were doing the music for, and we didn't think it would have an audience.
Yeah, it was super honest. I mean,
well, yeah, that's awesome. It's come across that way, but yeah, I think it would have if we'd gone in with writing something to appeal to people.
It wouldn't be this.
It wouldn't be this.
Yeah, probably not. And then I mean, like,
and it probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere, right? Because it would have been pretty beige.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think we have got better because just as you do, like, and we started it. I'm definitely an accidental musician, and you've got
underselling it.
That's fair to say. We've both got better.
We definitely both got better, though. Yeah, I think that's true. Yes.
A bit.
Improvement is key.
Yeah,
no matter what you do. Okay.
Incremental.
Yeah. But yeah, again, like I said, the second record has always this fear. I mean, not fear, but this a huge amount of respect. And talking about respect, I mean, for you, as you mentioned, that both of you are metal lovers or grew up in your local metal scene. How have things been since the awakening of the hand? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one. I think because we haven't really been able to play live, and because we don't get out much anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you said the reasons, and they make sense, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But even just like being out in the scene, even just going to gigs, like I'll maybe manage to get to a gig once every sort of 2 months, if that. If I'm being optimistic, and you're probably about similar. Yeah. And so we don't even really. I think it's one of these weird ones because we've done it the other way around than you would normally do it. I start off as a local band, play local shows, then get in the studio, then get a record deal or something like that and push the album out.
Yeah.
I think while we do have a really awesome supporter group across Scotland, I think the vast majority of our supporters are outside of Scotland, and people that have picked us up on the internet from, various other ways. Like if you look at like, I hate to always use Spotify as the example, but it's just really good on getting the details, right? But
that's true.
Like the UK is like typically about 4th or 5th in our countries for our highest listeners, which is crazy to us because, this is weird Scottish infused melodeath. And yet at the same time, a lot of our local scene probably don't really know us to a great degree because we've not really worked in that scene, and we're not really spending a lot of time doing the gigs at the moment. Obviously, it's something we're trying to change and something that we're hoping to turn around. But there is definitely. Well, you saw a couple of folk wearing some of our patches around. Yeah. I had some pictures sent by other folk wearing our patches around some gigs in Glasgow, which was pretty cool.
and just the coolest thing to see.
Yeah.
Like someone wearing your patch in the wild, and then you just.
You spotted a patch in the wild. Sounds like a wild Pokemon has appeared. Kind of.
Captured for the memories.
I can believe it. It's like the most exciting thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to run up and be like, that's me.
Oh, that's me. Do you want me to sign it? No, sorry.
But I mean, again, this shows exactly what one of the reasons why not only you guys do music or we do our podcast thing, but in one way, I think no matter where you are from, if I would go to, and I've been to the UK several times and I've been to a concert as well and stuff, and you always watch out for the shirts and stuff, and maybe one of these guys has a Hand of Kaalliach shirt or anything, or even a Luxembourgish band, which happened before, which is like, this you basically follow him around because you still can't believe it that this feller has listens to this one band that has maybe like 50 followers on Spotify or whatever. So I don't know. In one way, it makes it even more clear that the whole metal genre and scene is basically one big mashup of just happy people just being happy listening to good music. That's all that is.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the best.
So we need to get into the local scene a little bit more to get our faces around a bit. But,
it must be difficult also. I mean, honestly, I'm not too familiar with many like Scottish bands, like specifically Scottish themed or inspired bands. But the UK is one of the biggest scenes on the planet, to be fair, compared to the US and Germany as well. And as you said earlier, the Scandinavians with what they are doing. But I think there's a lot of room for Scottish talented bands, or even Irish or whatever, because again, that's a totally different sound. Even many people don't see it and don't hear it, you know. So let's hope for the best. I mean, that's the only thing we can do, and proclaim that there is a way to unite us all in a way with good music and good whiskey. Cheers to that.
Absolutely.
Cheers to that.
So yeah, Corey Reckon. I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, Corey Reckon.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I looked up, and as you mentioned before, the whole mythological thing is kind of weird sometimes. I mean, this gulf of Corey Reckon is, I didn't know that, and I basically drove past it, you know. And just to again explain how fast you can drive by or not listen to stuff you hear, maybe passing a room and somebody's playing a gig or whatever. It's so easy to get lost and lose sight of the smaller things. Like this is just a gulf, it's just a stream, you know, that keeps on circling. Was that like not the main inspiration, but why did you capture this specific moment also on the artwork and stuff? Because I think that's the depicted is the goddess itself, right?
Absolutely, with the Kalliach. Absolutely.
It was difficult getting through the whole mythological thing. I'll tell you what. Wow.
I know.
I know. It's whenever we're pulling together all the promo write-ups for any of the new releases, and it's like
edit.
It's gone into 40 pages again, John. Dial it back. It's like, but this is really important.
But we really need this added bit because it's really boring and disgusting.
So good. Yeah,
Can't understand the rest of it without this.
Yeah, because and also, I mean, many people, I mean, several people that I know who have not been to either Scotland or UK, they're like, oh, what are the 5 places or one of the must-sees that you have to do in Scotland? I would have said maybe you go to Isle of Skye, you go to Talisker, and you have a nice whiskey. For me, that's fine, you know. But many would not agree with that. So,
I mean, that's definitely a good thing to do. Yeah. I mean, I guess with Corey Reckon, I mean, from the mythology side of things, for any of your listeners that don't know, the mythology behind our band name is of the Kalliach, who's the witch god of winter from sort of pre-Christian pagan sort of mythology. And one of the tales would go, and there's as with all mythology, there's loads of different conflicting accounts of where she actually lived and what she actually did. But the one I had always heard was that there was this witch that lived beneath the Corey Reckon whirlpool, which is off the west coast of Scotland. And my mum's family is all from Islay, which is one of the islands on the west coast. And that's like 2 islands down, effectively, from where the Corey Reckon is actually situated. But I didn't know anything more than that. And even then, it was only a sort of passing tale I'd heard. But I didn't know it was supposed to be the witch god of Scottish winter that arises from the Corey Reckon, which is a very real whirlpool and is the 3rd biggest in the world, apparently. And I didn't know that until we were researching band stuff, right? Yeah, absolutely. Well, neither did we. And like, it was effectively a local attraction. Yeah, absolutely. And she rises up and she sort of casts her sort of plaid, which she sort of washes, her plaid, which is her sort of Scottish sort of cloak. Then she washes that in the waters of the Corey Reckon. And it sort of churns up and spins up in winter, and then she throws it over the lands where it lands as snow, and that sort of starts the whole sort of winter process off, and then she kind of reigns over.
It's so damn epic. Every time I read it or hear it, it's just so damn epic.
It's so metal. It's that's people have asked us where we got the band name from, and I'm always like, well, okay.
How long do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
How much time do you want to spend?
Let me pour you a big whiskey, and we'll talk about some witch gods.
John's Roman Empire.
Yeah, exactly. But we'd never actually been up to the Corey Reckon itself until last summer. So we actually went up and we took a boat trip up there. You can go on like a rigid inflatable boat, which was a real blast to go and see. While it was calm, I should stress. But one of the cool things about it, I mean, it's a really weird place, and it's got this really weird vibe to it because you're looking at the water. And it's like oil, wasn't it? It was like sort of, there's these sort of swirling eddies and currents underneath it. Because effectively what you've got is it goes down about 200 meters because it's actually quite a narrow strait. And what's happened over time is that the water's eroded it down just at that bit, incredibly deep with incredibly forceful sort of currents. So you've got about 200-meter plunge just off a coast that's sitting around a mountain underwater. So there's this underwater mountain that effectively forces, as the water runs through at the tides, it creates this enormous bubbling sort of roiling cauldron, which is what it was described as in some of the historic texts. And you can absolutely get the vibe when you're there. I mean, we were there on like a beautiful sunny day, and the water was relatively calm, but you can still get the really quite eerie vibe to the whole sort of place.
Really eerie. It's the water's so dark, and it kind of doesn't seem like it knows where it's going.
Yeah, it doesn't move in the way you would expect the water to move at all. The waves are going in really odd directions and appearing just from nowhere. Yeah, really pretty unsettling. So that was like a big sort of inspiration, I guess, for this one. And I guess one of the other things that we've driven a lot on in terms of our sound all the way through has been the duality aspects between the various faces that the Kalliach is kind of portrayed as, because in some ways she's portrayed as this very destructive, malevolent sort of force, but in other accounts she's kind of written as this sort of almost druidic sort of nature, protector,
shamanic kind of
exactly.
Vibing,
Yeah, exactly. She's been quite sort of nurturing and protective in a sort of harsh sort of way, and I guess that's really where we kind of resonated with the sound that we were doing between our vocal styles and between some of the more melodic passages and some of the heavier riffs and things like that. And the Coffeebreak in itself just seemed like this fantastic manifestation of that, because, like I said, when we were there, it was flat calm. And if you go there in the winter months when it's in the middle of like the tide changing, when you've got the water rushing through it, it's like it's literally
sight.
Like.
Yeah, it's meant
absolutely.
to horrify you, basically.
Exactly. I mean, it's written about in these old texts, like even the old like Royal Navy manual, like describes it as unnavigable. So you just could not cross it when it was in its flow. You just don't do it. Even in a warship, you just wouldn't go and do it.
Okay.
And the skipper that was taking us up was like, he's seen it from a distance where like the waves are going up to like 20 feet high. I mean, maybe an exaggeration, but like I can believe it because you can see some of the videos online of it really cool flow.
I checked a few out.
It's a wild place, but it's crazy to see that such a sometimes tranquil, sometimes absolute maelstrom of a place is can coexist within the same
very moody
location.
place.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, I need to stop, otherwise I just keep going.
I mean, honestly, you explained it way better than any YouTube video I watched. So
metal, whiskey, and locational phenomenon. Yeah, that'll be a good podcast.
Great. I love it. Okay, let's get through. So now with Tom and Dean, no, Dehan, sorry, Dehan. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Dehan,
Dehan. And the live show is on the way, in some way or another. What do you consider? I mean, do you even look further than that now already, or will you like first let's focus and inhale all this whatever comes now and focus on, I wouldn't say a break, but just like a druid sitting in his hut and smoking a pipe. let's be realistic for once here. And or is there some idea flow? Because usually I know of a lot of musicians when they are on this high, and most musicians are all the same anyway, you have this high and this inspiration hits you just keep on writing. You keep on writing. And for you as well, last year the EP came out with I think it was 3 songs, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was just something to kind of keep us going, like you say, just to kind of write and just give us something that we could do mostly ourselves without having to expend anything, just to do a little bit of something a bit more melodic and something a little bit more contrasting, I guess, to some of the stuff we've done before. But yeah, you're right. I think we have. Well, sorry, I've talked too much. You have. You go.
I'd say we're totally opposite though in this regard, because I think I'm much more short-term plans.
Yeah.
And you're much more long-term.
Yeah.
So I think you've got really. I think you can see further ahead, to big picture stuff. Whereas I think I'm quite,
step by step.
Step by step, step by step. Get the first live show in, and that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And the rest, I guess, I'm thinking we'll just figure it out, but I think you have...
No, you put me on the spot because I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, you'll have loads of it.
No, I think...
You're writing a lot, though. I mean, that creativity, that flow is still in full force.
Yeah. I think definitely the live shows is absolutely like the biggest thing on the horizon. It's something we wanted to do for a while, but it's only since we've been able to get Tom and Dehan on board, which was awesome because they're both phenomenally talented musicians, and them wanting to come and play with us was just fantastic. And both of them rocked up to like the practices and played our own tracks way better than we did, which was like just amazing. Like, wow, nice. Okay, just need to replace myself now, and we'll be good to go. But that's definitely priority number one. I think, I've been doing a bit more on the writing side of things for sure. I think we definitely want to do another album, and Prosthetic have indicated, that, there's absolutely the door open for further work on that front, which is great, especially off the back of the reception that we've had from Coffeebreak so far, which has been, phenomenal. And we've been really blown away by the coverage and the kind reviews that we've had so far. We definitely want to do something on that front. I guess it's kind of what I don't want to do is just do another one that's the same. Because I think with Coffeebreak, as you've kind of touched on, like we wanted to cement and ensure that we could, continue the good stuff that happens in Samhain and still get hit the same bar, for ourselves again, making sure that we got to the same sort of quality, but obviously making sure that we got not making sure, but getting that decent positive reception and okay, yes, we can consistently do that sound great, but I guess what I'd like to do is do something more or different for the next one, which is totally going to be a bit more of a step up, I guess, from where we are at the moment, because I guess it's a different challenge to what Coffeebreak was, which was that condense and distill and really focus on it. I mean,
compared to the first record, right? So.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So I could see it. It's not going to be anything super quick, but definitely kicking some ideas around. I mean, I think I've already done about 5 tracks, of which have gone 3 are rubbish, and 2 are on the maybe pile, so we can see how things go.
Who knows? Maybe none of them will end up on whatever you guys want
exactly.
to do.
So, I mean, at this rate, it might be like 50 tracks, of which 2 make it through, and we do.
Maybe a short album.
Really short.
I mean, that is a normal situation, I think, for any writer or whatever. There's always room for writing, in any case.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. What else do I have? I think we went through the whole thing.
Oh, awesome.
Isn't that nuts?
Amazing.
How time flies. I have one last question, and obviously many thanks also to you, but what are your... I know this is the one that usually ticks off everyone. What are your 5, no matter the genre, if you have like an island, and you would be stranded on that island, and the only thing you could bring is 5 records, what would you bring?
Oh, 5. See, I've had 3 before, and somebody recently asked us for 4 and 5. So could we do 5 together?
Yeah, you do whatever you want. No worry, even 3 is fine. It's such a random question anyway.
No, it's always a good one, and I feel like we should have our responses absolutely nailed by now.
But it's different.
It changes every day. Yeah,
it's different as well. It's like because it's not what's influenced.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not what's influenced the band.
Which ones would you just want to?
Desert Island to listen to forever.
That's it.
Which could be different.
Yeah, I'd probably start off with Dreamless by Fallujah. I mean, that's also, if you've seen any of our stuff that we've done on the interview side of things, that's a big inspiration for me in terms of making the sound work, where I mean, we're obviously not tech death, and they're mega on the tech death side of things, and I'm not actually broadly a tech death fan for the most part, but I think the way that they did it with a lot of the atmospherics and the ethereals and stuff like that, I feel like what they did there was really something really special and really unique. So I'd probably take that one because it's both an inspiration and just I really love the record. What would you go for next?
I would go Frightened Rabbit.
Oh, Frightened Rabbit, yeah, that's a Scottish indie band. Really good.
Write that down.
Yeah. Sadly, they're not playing anymore as the lead singer died a few years ago. But yeah, we both saw them a fair few times, and they were absolutely fantastic. And the records absolutely still stand up to it, but they're really.
And just something I could listen to forever.
Yeah, you would have to listen to it.
I would.
Forever. Yeah, fair enough. What I go for next? Oh man, choices. You know, I might go for one of the first albums that ever got me into metal was White Pony by Deftones.
Oh, yeah.
Great choice.
I still love
Great
Deftones.
choice.
Like that's another band that's just like blazed its really own path all the way through. Yeah, you would go with this. You're stealing it. You can't steal it.
We'll share it.
Okay, we'll share that.
We're on it together.
Okay, fair. All right, we'll share that one. You got to choose the next one. Oh, you could Joni Mitchell, surely.
No, it's definitely one that inspires my like vocals. I think because I grew up with it, but I don't think I necessarily put it on a desert. You go next.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But then it changes also every day, you know.
Right,
well, absolutely. Depends on the weather on the desert island, right?
Sure.
You have to have something really like you listen to a lot of just like. Maybe Fortet.
Some super mellow stuff. Yeah, I mean that's it. Sometimes
Fortet is like what's that?
You would probably do Fortet.
I think I would do Fortet.
You do round.
I heard of them. Yeah.
And just
really
just
mellow down tempo sort of electronic stuff. Yeah.
Super relaxed.
Yeah. I think you would. You'd probably have Fortet before I did, or Alt J or something like that. Some of that sort of down tempo, trippy side of things. Yeah. I would. Yeah, Portishead. Yeah, it's another decent one for sure. Yeah. No, I would go with some Fortet as well. Yeah, I would totally take that. So we can share that one, and we can share Deftones.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
nice.
good.
Last
one. I'd probably go for a Creative Filth one, just for
nice.
I mean, I've not really kept up with their absolutely massive discography, but again, that was another band that like really got me into metal in the first place.
Yep, same here.
Awesome. And it's probably one of their albums, if I had to pick one of them, it'd probably be one of their lesser loved ones. It was Damnation in a Day, which is one I listened to a lot of my teens.
Where they had a more modern sound compared to the older records.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just because it was my gateway into extreme metal.
Yeah,
and
so nostalgic.
Exactly. And I love that production. And I guess actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe some of that is influenced why we have quite a modern production on our sound rather than a sort of more sound.
Who knows?
You know, some of those sort of things for sure. But I loved what they did there because I think it was the Budapest Orchestra they got in. But they did all the.
I think that's the first
orchestrals.
record. Yeah, that's it. That's the first record where they had a full orchestra.
And I was just blown away by it. Like the fact that you could do really dark, really grim, extreme metal with a full orchestra and all the atmosphere that brought into it as well. I was like, this is absolutely amazing. And then they kind of didn't do that. I mean, they have obviously done it to varying degrees afterwards, but I felt like that was the most impactful one I'd heard, particularly because it was such an early one that I'd heard, where I'd gone, wow, you can actually do so many cool things with metal, and add these crazy sort of layers in. So that's a pretty random mix there. Of
it
five
is,
albums.
but then again, it's your mix. So who says? Who's about to say, right? If I had to choose now, like on the spot, I would also probably choose at least one record from Mike Oldfield because I'm stuck on that fella again, over and over.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned Cradle of Filth, which one would I take? I actually liked what's the name? The one where they have is like they call it with the murderer. Well, I forgot the name. It's like this French count who.
Oh yeah.
I forgot the name of the record. How is that even?
I know exactly what you mean. The
possible?
one who murdered all the girls. Yeah.
Exactly that one.
Man, I'm totally forgetting now as well. There we go.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous, but yeah.
No, it came out. I think it came out 2 or 3 years, or 2 or 3 records after Damnation in a Day. What's the name of it? I forgot. Never mind. Probably that one, and maybe one. I'm actually kind of hooked on a new Luxembourgish band now that just started out an atmospheric black metal band. I would probably bring that just out of pure respect, you know.
Yeah. For the local scene. Yeah,
absolutely.
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 You could have represented it for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. But damn, no, I can't figure out the name. Never mind. We'll leave it at that.
So I'm gonna get it. Hang on. It was
super long name, I think, right? With the
It's one of the. Oh man.
Was
See, the problem is I've got so many. I'm sort of skimming through the discography now, and I'm starting to remember. But yeah.
Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder. That's the
there we go.
name.
Yeah, we'll just have to edit that bit out.
Yeah.
We remember that.
Yeah, because there was. I remember that with the help of this fella. To be fair, okay, just saying.
Nice. Yeah. Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
that was like the record, as you said, that portrayed this really grim. I mean, at least for me, this super grim and theatrical aspect to metal music. I mean, they were obviously one of the first ones who I encountered that tried to do something like that. Later on, or Dimmu Borgir and stuff, they also tried similar stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Many followed after that, but I think Cradle of Filth, even though some hate them, others love them, I think they have to be mentioned as one of the probably biggest influential bands out of the UK.
Absolutely.
So
sure. Yeah, definitely.
So. Shout out to Danny Field, by the way. Such a weird guy, but I love him. So, I mean, we've been at it for almost an hour, guys. Right? Damn. It's crazy
The
stuff.
time does fly when you're having fun. I've been talking too much again.
Yeah. Same here, bro. No worries, man. But I think we can end on the Cradle of Filth notes.
Awesome. That's a good content.
But to those out there who do not know who Hand of Kallliach, the main reason why we are here today, is I highly suggest that you check out their whole discography on either Bandcamp or Spotify and all the other streaming platforms. Simon and Samhain. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly though.
It's Samhain, but it's really difficult because if you didn't know
nobody
Gaelic,
does it probably.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really it's impossible. It sounds nothing like what it looks.
Okay. So Samhain and Curry Reckon came out. Early this year. Had quite some good response so far, and it's still growing strong, which I hope will continue over the following months and years. And thank you for the opportunity for joining me today here, and for sharing your
for all the support. Yeah, absolutely, really.
Always welcome. And again, thanks for listening out there, everybody. Thank you, both of you, and hear you very soon.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, thanks so much.
Bye.